Hello, dear students. Very good morning. I welcome you all in your BA Part Second English Literature, Government College, Banswara. As you know very well, that we have been facing very difficult times of COVID-19, and due to that, we have not been able to meet in our classrooms and having offline classes. Therefore, we are connected with you through online, through virtual mode of way. And last year we also delivered lectures regarding your syllabus and course through online, through videos. This year, right now, we have been also providing you the reading material, the lectures of your syllabus through virtual means or through videos and PPTs. So let us start. And I also know very well that you know me quite well, as you came to the college for some period in February and March of this year. So let me repeat myself. I am D.D. Gupta, Associate Professor in English, Government College, Banswara. Today, dear students, we are going to read the poem Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne. You know, this is your second paper of English literature. Right now, or for some time, I will deal your second paper, that is poetry and drama. So in this paper, we have poems specifically that we have to study. Whereas in first paper, we have some plays, some dramas. But let us first go with the second paper. So now let's start the analysis of the poem Go and Catch a Falling Star, written by John Donne. If we go with a little introduction of the poet John Donne, where he was born, when he was born, and about his family, childhood, and education, we must have a little knowledge about the poet as well as about any writer that we study in our literature. So, John Donne was born in London in 1572 and he died in 1631. That is, he also did not live along. He was a son of a rich iron merchant. On his father's side, if we see, he comes from an old Welsh family. And from his mother's side, he comes from Hewoods and Moores family. Both the families were Catholics. Therefore, his education could not be continued in Oxford and Cambridge because of his religion. John Donne was an English poet, a scholar, soldier, and secretary, born into a recusant family who later became a cleric in the Church of England. So later he became also a clerk in a church of England. Under this royal personage or the family, he was made Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral in London because he belongs to Catholic. He is considered the preeminent representative of the metaphysical poets. Here, this point is very important, metaphysical. John Donne is called the father of metaphysical poets. He is one of the best, we can say, the metaphysical poets. We will discuss later on what is metaphysical. For simple meaning here, I tell you, metaphysical means, meta means beyond, physical means physical, that is beyond physical, beyond the earth, beyond the belongings. But there are certain very important features and characteristics of metaphysical poets, especially John Donne, that we will see in his poems, like conceits, like weights, like humor, like two opposite worlds that are yoked together in his poems, so sensibility, etc. These are some of the features of metaphysical poetry. Let's go with his works. His works, two categories here we have divided. Some poems are secular poems and divine poems. And secular poems so far are concerned, we have songs and sonnets. There are 55 lyrics in various meter. And his reputation, as we see, as a metaphysical poet, in the same way, John Donne is also regarded as a love poet. And these lyrics are full of his love poems or love feelings and sensibilities. This collection includes certain poems: the ecstasy, the relic, the flea, valediction, forbidding morning of weeping, the good morrow, etc. The second category that we have, the elegies. In this group, we have 20 poems which were published by him in 1633. And there are another group, that is the satires. And satires written by John Donne are 5 in number, and they might have been written in 1593 to 98. Another category of his works is the Progress of Soul, which was written in 1601, and the anniversaries, that also published in 1611. There are certain religious poetry, divine poetry, La Corona, Holy Sonnets, Riding Westward, the Litany, Hymen to Christ, etc. La Corona is set of 7 sonnets which were dedicated to Lady Herbert in 1607, and the Holy Sonnets, there are 19 sacred sonnets which preceded John Donne's entry in church. So this was the little introduction about John Donne's birth, about his family, about his education, and about his works. Now we come to the poem, what this poem is about, that today we are going to study. The name of the poem is Go and Catch a Falling Star. So let's see a little about the poem. What is there, or what about this poem is? So this poem, published in 1633, this is fantastical take on traditional and misogynistic theme. So based on traditional theme. And in tradition, what we believe, that women are supposedly inevitable infidelity. That is, they are not considered fiddle, they are not considered faithful and truthful. In this poem, there is a speaker who tells the listener is also there, and we can imagine that the speaker itself is John Donne, and who are the listener? The readers are the listeners. So he can look the whole world. The speaker looks over the whole world, tries to find a faithful and truthful woman, but he doesn't. And he compares his own arguments, logics, with other things, with other elements of life as well as of the world. This poem has also a particular rhyme scheme that is written in a steady meter, and a lot of hyperbole has been used in this poem. Hyperbole means excess use of figures, that is बढ़ चढ़ करके किसी भी बात को कहना, बढ़ा चढ़ा कर, और वो भी बहुत एक्सेस में, that is called the hyperbole. The poem explores the traditional literary theme of John Donne's era, women's romantic infidelity. That is, women are not static, they are not stable, they are supposed to be change their lover. This is what the tradition of that time believed. And here in this poem, we have the same idea written by or described by the poet. Now we have the poem, stanza 1, and then we try to understand what is there in these stanzas. In fact, there are 3 stanzas in this poem. So let's go with the stanza 1. Go and catch a falling star, get with child a mandrake root, tell me where all past years are, or who clapped the devil's foot. Teach me to hear mermaids singing, or to keep off envy's stinging, and find what wind serves to advance an honest mind. So this is the first stanza of the poem. And the poem starts with its title, Go and Catch a Falling Star. So here the speaker, John Donne himself, tells the listener or the readers, addressing them, ki go and catch a falling star. So go and catch a falling star if you can. Get with child a mandrake root. And if you can, get a child from a mandrake root. Tell me where all past years are. And then he also asks the listeners or the readers, ki please tell me where all the past years have gone. Here in this first stanza, the poet presents or gives us the improbabilities, impossibilities, that these certain things are impossible in the world. So in rhetoric type of questions, he asks the readers, and the answer is clear, that is no. These things are not possible. So what he asks and how he says, go and catch a falling star. कि अगर आप कोई फॉलिंग स्टार को पकड़ सकते हैं तो जाओ पकड़िए. मैंड्रेक रूट से अगर आप बच्चा पैदा कर सकते हैं तो जाइए. मैंड्रेक रूट इज सपोज टू बी half woman and half, I mean, half fish. That is supposed to be the creature of the sea. So the mandrake root cannot be pregnanted. It looks like a woman. It's okay. But you can't get a child from the mandrake root. In the same way, he says, कि you also go and find out where the past years have gone. So we cannot know where the past has gone. It's not possible as to know about that. In the same way, he says कि you also cannot discover who divided the devil's hoop into two parts. कि डेविल के जो फूट को है दो टुकड़ों में किसने किया, वी डोंट नो. So these are the certain things that we don't know and we cannot know. We will never know. To teach him to hear the songs of mermaids. And he also tells that if you can teach him to hear the songs of mermaids, mermaids are supposed to be half fish and half woman found in the sea. Or that is, we cannot hear the songs from them. It is impossible. In the same way, he also tells that you also cannot find. Teach me to hear mermaids singing or to keep off envy's stinging. That is, envy and jealousy. It is the inherent part of being, inherent part of human mind. And this cannot be removed from the mind of the man. आदमी के दिमाग से जो है कि एनवी को नहीं हटा सकता, बिकॉज इट इज़ द नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन बीइंग. सो ही आस्क कि इफ़ यू कैन get off, if you can keep off from envy, it means we can't. Then he says, and find what wine. So then he again asks, if you can discover or if you have any favorable wind which might push a truthful and faithful person onward. That is, you cannot even find the reasons. What are the reasons? What are the causes that an honest man becomes honest or true or truthful? That is, there are no reasons. We don't know how a man can become honest and faithful. So here the poet in the first stanza tries to establish his point of view. And what is his point of view? That you cannot find a truthful and faithful woman in the world. And in order to prove his point of view, his statement, he gives certain logics or certain examples and illustrations, certain improbabilities and impossibilities that we have with us. Now let's come or go with stanza 2. If thou wast born to strange sights, things invisible to see, ride 10,000 days and nights, till age snow white hairs on thee. Thou, when thou returnest, will tell me all strange wonders that befall thee, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. So now the poet says that if you are the beast, you are the human being, you are the being who is born to see the strange sights, that is, one who can see the future sights, strange sights, things invisible to see, the things which are invisible to normal human beings. But since you are something special, some kind of saint, if you are you are Superman, or if you can see the future, the things which are invisible, then he says, okay, then you write 10,000 days and nights. So you go and make a travel for 10,000 days and nights all over the world till you become old, till your hair become grey, white. Thou, when thou returns, will tell me. And when you come back, after having completed your journey or traveling of the world, spending 10,000 days and nights and becoming old, come and then tell me all strange wonders that befell thee, all the strange wonders or the things, surprises that you saw while you are traveling, while your journey, you tell me and swear. And then you have to tell that thing by swear, by taking an oath, honestly. Nowhere lives a woman true and fair. That is, even then, after making so long journey of the world and becoming old, and you have the capacity to see the invisible things, even then definitely you will tell me that there is nowhere, there is no woman who is true and fair. That is, you have seen so many other things, but you could not find any woman who is supposed to be fair, that is beautiful and faithful. This is what we have in these lines. Now come to the stanza 3, that is the concluding stanza of this poem. So we have seen in two stanzas how John Donne tries to prove his own statement or his point of view. Now he says, if thou findest one, let me know. So in the second stanza we have seen how he addresses the readers or the man or the addressee, that you can make you make a round of all the world. And if you find any woman truthful and faithful, then tell me. Then let me know where she is. So in rhetorical question point of view, the answer is no. So in this stanza he says, addressing to the same man who has travelled so long and who has become so old by travelling of this world, he asks, if you find one, if you find any woman who is faithful according to you or truthful, then let me know. So let me know about her. Such a pilgrimage was sweet, about her and about her place where she lives. I will go there because that is such a pilgrimage, and this pilgrimage is very sweet. यहाँ जो पोइट है वो ये कहता है कि अगर कहीं ऐसी वुमन मिलती है तो वो उसको एक तीर्थ स्थान की तरह कंसिडर करेगा उस जगह को, कि वहाँ वो रहती है. और yet do not, I would not go. And he will go there thinking that that is a pilgrimage. He will make a visit. But very soon the poet diverts. Poet changes his mind. And he says, yet do not, I would not go. He says, no. Even then I would not go. Even if you tell me that there is a woman who is so faithful and truthful and she lives there so and so, it's okay that I will think that that place is just like a pilgrimage. But I won't make a visit to her even then. Though at next door we might meet, although we can meet at the next door, though she were true, though she may be true, and I can meet her. But when you met her, here the poet means to say that she was true when you met her. जब आप मिले उस समय हो सकता है वो फेथफुल ईमानदार हो, लेकिन he thinks that now she is not like that, therefore he will not go to her, or he will not go there. Though she were true when you met her, and last till you write your letter. And she may be true when you write a letter to her, last time when you wrote a letter to her. Yet she will be false I come to earth. But even then, the poet says he will not go there, because when he will go there and find her, he will see what he will see there, that she will be of two or more. That is, she will change her lover by one to second, by first to second and second to third. That means then she would be of the third. It means that the poet does not, this is the traditional view of that time about the women, that the women were not considered truthful and faithful. They were supposed to, that they changed their lovers frequently, and that was a fashion at that time in, in, in Europe. And this is what here the idea that the poet has depicted through this poem or in this poem. So, dear friends, this is what we have in this poem written by John Donne. I hope you will enjoy listening the explanation or the meaning of this poem from me in this video. Thank you very much. But remember that tomorrow we shall meet again with a new poem which is prescribed in your syllabus, and the name of the poem is Thoughts in the Garden, written by Andrew Marvell. Till then, bye bye. Thank you very much.